Yeah, hi Rahul.
Hey Sai, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good, sir. Rahul, how are you?
So tell me about your journey to Facebook. How did you start? What did you do? You know, and give me a little bit about your struggles and how did you overcome those main major pain points.
So I know, there will be definitely a coding part, which is a challenge that I have to overcome. I used to have like a lot of fear when I was in the when I was about to prepare. Even before prepare, I don't know the strategy.
Mm,
There was a lot of hurdles here and there.
mm,
So, and I started looking at some YouTube videos, how to start lead coding and how to start, like I started reading some blogs,
mm,
doing that. But still, since multiple people has multiple reviews, right? They have their own path. So this confused me a lot in the beginning, Rahul. So on when to start, even for a simple problem, or two sum, I used to think a lot, how to do this, right? And actually the patterns, and I was not able to actually find the patterns. So even for a small problem, I used to take more than an hour easily.
I mean,
I
you
used to
used
do the
to.
brute force approach,
Mm,
but not the efficient approach. So
mm,
just to get to that path, it took me a lot of time. And then the courses that you have offered, where you clearly divided the patterns, the proper pathway to become a good engineer. So
mm,
that helped me, that's for sure. The list of questions that you have provided,
mm,
and every single pattern, in every single pattern, the list of different variations of the same question, you know
mm,
and solving the problem the brute force way, and solving the problem in efficient way, optimized approach, with respect to a space and with respect to runtime complexities. So the pattern that you have provided actually helped me a lot to
mm.
start my journey.
To start the journey. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And then what did you do after you? So how long did you take you to reach from this point where you are not able to efficiently solve the two-sum problem to being able to solve it and other questions more efficiently?
Right.
How much time did that take?
Right. So the one thing that I found out is finding out patterns is an important thing.
Mm,
Without knowing that pattern, you will be you will be drowning. You don't know what you're doing. You will just try to solve a problem. So that was my intention. I just want to solve the problem. Uh, but the first thing that I found out is, instead of going towards solving a problem, right? Just try to find what pattern it is. You
mm,
know, see what it is. Try to evaluate, understand the problem first of all, ask the proper requirements, right? So this was the what you say, an initial thought that I used, that came in slowly,
mm,
and looking at that problems, like similar problems, comparing both of them, right?
mm.
That helped me.
That helped
uh,
you. Mm.
yeah, comparing and then trying to find the patterns. That took a little time. That
Mm,
took a little bit of time, like around close to 2 months, at least 2 to 3 months.
mm,
But even before that, I my my main motto was different before that. And after I took course, my main motto was changed. So
mm.
before that, my main motto was to solve as many problems as you can,
Ah,
right?
mm,
So
mm.
so
Interesting.
so I thought the number matters.
Yeah,
So
how
that's
many how many how many problems did you solve before the mindset shift?
uh, close to 150 to 200 for sure.
150 to 200. Okay, okay.
200, yeah,
And
for
then
sure,
what
yes.
happened? Okay.
And even before that mind shift, right? I used to solve the problem. I couldn't just crack it. I will just look at the solution and then, oh yeah, this is how it is. That's it. Oh, this is very easy. That's how you should think, right? So that was a very lot of, basically a waste of time for me, around close to more than 5 months, I would say. It's
Wow.
just waste of time. I was just looking at numbers, like number of problems that I've solved, because
Mm.
I followed like multiple YouTube videos, and a couple of my friends suggested, oh, you know what, if you want to crack the big FAANG companies, you have to complete at least 500 questions,
Mm.
500 coding questions. That is the biggest blunder that I suggestion that I got from my friends.
I see.
And that's what triggered me. Okay, I need to complete the number of the count matters. That is the biggest blow. So that was very bad. That ate up most of my time. I do not have a family time. I used to sit in, for a simple small question, I used to sit for like a lot of time, you know. And then I used to, and then I used to fed up, and then I look at the solution. So this went on for a while until, I met you.
Mm.
Uh, I mean, this is an honest, Rahul,
Yeah,
honest.
I know. Yeah, because that after you meeting me, that was the start of your real journey, right?
Yeah, correct, correct, correct.
Interesting. Okay.
But even after that, I did not stop doing, because I when in this so when that mindset shift happened, right? I
Mm.
went back to the questions that I did. I
Mm.
could not do it. The second time, I could not do it.
Mm.
So that's when I started thinking the patterns. So when you showed, a patterns, and then a one pattern, and then a list of questions, another pattern, list of questions, and then different variations of the same question,
Mm.
that triggered me thinking about a pattern matching, finding out the underlying algorithm behind it, you know what I mean. So that shift came. That's when, like, I started redoing the same questions. I found a lot of things why I took a lot of 45 minutes for a small problem, you know what I
Mm.
mean. Like, I used to go and after that, slowly practice and practice and practice, and then, like, I kind of got, like, the all the patterns. It was like in my fingertips.
Mm.
So I used to, like, if it's a medium question, yeah, less than 20 minutes. That's
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah, 20-25 minutes hardly. And I used to think about brute force. I used to think about the brute force. In the beginning, I used to code the brute force, but then I stopped coding brute force, and then
Mm.
starting coding the optimized approach, but definitely put out the brute force approach. On
Mm.
optimized approach, I used to think about, okay, what are the other optimized approaches? How can we do it differently? And then started doing that. And then I used to put my own filters on the same question, which means I used to apply my own conditions to the same question. And
Mm.
then that gives a different variations of the same question. And then I
Mm.
started solving those, or at least discuss with the friends regarding that. Like,
Mm.
when there is a group, like, right? So that's what I used to do. So that helped me a lot. Like,
That is very
and
interesting. Mm. You started modifying the questions and generating your own questions,
correct, correct.
right? Okay. Okay.
Correct. Thinking in a different way, applying more filters to it,
Mm.
applying one or two filters at least. And then, okay, if interviewer asks you in this way, what you're gonna do? So,
Mm.
which means applying a mathematical formula, right? Like, there are some questions like that. So what if they don't want to use a library for it?
Mm.
Something like that. What if they don't want to use a DFS? They want you to use a BFS. What if they want you to use only DFS, not a BFS? Something, just so
Mm.
solve it every day. How about, like, instead of that, without time and without space, completely O of one space. Can you solve O of one space? Yes, we have a Morris in order traversal. I did not even forget, because I came to know from your lecture only the Morris in order traversal. Different types of Morris in order traversals. So I did not forget that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So because there was this one interview, I told them, and they were so shocked regarding the Morris in order travel. So I was like, no, you can definitely do it. You can just, if you allow me to break the links, because there are there are questions. I used to think this way also. What if, am I eligible to actually break the tree? If am able to break the tree, apply a simple traversal. I'm sorry, a Morris, right? So
yeah.
I used to think like this.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, like, those type of things helped me a lot. Thinking, I mean, like, definitely not a number. That was a very bad approach that I took in the beginning. Wasted a lot of time. Just only in the simple. I was not even there at the queues at that time, but I wasted a lot of time solving 200 questions, close to 200. Without even, like, looking at the number only.
Mm.
So yeah.
Interesting. So now that you figured out the coding aspect, What about system design and behavior? What was the challenges that you faced there, and how did you
Yeah.
overcome them?
Yeah. So behavioral, yeah. So one thing that helped me, Rahul, is the resume preparation from you. I took a session from
Yeah,
you,
yeah,
right?
yeah, 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 yeah.
For resume preparation.
Mm.
So whoever looked at my resume was like, wow. I used to get like, definitely used to get a call.
Wow.
I know, like we did not have a conversation after a long
Yeah,
time, but yes,
yeah.
like definitely at least startups and bigger companies, tier 2, tier 1 companies, I used to get a calls.
Mm.
Resume preparation. And resume preparation, I know, like you keep asking me one question, which is, what problem did you solve? Like, when preparing that, I could not answer. I mean, because the problem space is a little big, but still, uh, and the company that I was working for was logistics. So the engineering is very less.
Mm.
And I did not even think about, like, I was just, okay, I was given a task and then, used to solve it and that's it, right?
Mm.
So, but here, when you ask me that type of questions, I started thinking about, okay, what was the problem space? Okay. And then I started thinking about, that actually helped me in the behavioral also. They
Mm.
used to ask me the same questions. There are some, when I was working with the logistics company, which is Werner.
Mm.
So, building microservices, like, we broke the monolithic and then we came to microservices, that architecture.
Mm.
You asked me that, and there was like some small microservices, like some kind of road breakdown and all that stuff. I started thinking about those projects. And what was I started, you asked me like many behavioral questions only that time when
Mm.
preparing the resume.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
what was the challenging project that you did? So that
Mm.
was the same question that they asked me in the actual interviews. So I started thinking about that. Okay, what was the difficulty? What difficulty did you face in it, and how did you solve it? Right? Is there any conflict? And these questions. So just list of behavioral questions, I already got them. But when I actually had a conversation with you, that I got many answers there only. I started preparing stories on the top of it.
Mm.
So, but in the beginning, it was very hard for even a small companies that I could not answer behavioral much.
Mm.
Uh, but going, like, interview after interview, which means, like, I did not take mock interviews, but actually real help interviews helped me. But even in for any other people who wants to prepare for a behavioral, they will definitely need to take a mock interviews.
Mm.
Mock interviews is because it's very easy for people to say, beer we can easily crack it, because I used to think the same.
Mm.
But no, it's not easy, because if you fake it, you will definitely get caught.
Mm.
You will definitely get caught in that journey. So,
Mm.
because if you answer one question, like, which you don't know, right, then they will started digging into it, right? And even somehow you manage to answer it, then they will go a little bit deeper, then it will backfire you, right?
Mm.
So that is something that I got from you as well. Like, if you
Mm.
don't know something, don't even start it, else
Mm.
it will backfire and it will definitely a red flag.
Yeah.
So, uh,
Yeah.
that and then when I came to startup, the problem space was very clear. I know what I was working on. I started working on the very interesting features, like, authentication, like two-factor authentication things. And there are some, like, very very interesting problem spaces that I actually worked on. So
Mm.
there is very clear way for me to draft my answers. Yeah,
Okay.
for all of that. Even I used to, especially for behavioral questions, I used to, like, I like I used to frame my own questions around it, like conflicts. I used to find, okay, where is the conflict that happened? Did it happen in this project, or this project, in this project, right? So I used to write my own stories between a
Mm.
conflict with myself. I mean, like, with me and my manager, and then me and my other colleagues,
Mm.
right? And also, like, yeah, I got a chance to actually work on something new, which is completely out of my boundary, right? So, which was another behavioral questions that they will ask you. Yes, I went out of my space, and then I spent extra time to learn, and then achieve this. I mean, we are able to deliver in this way. So, working on a startup helped me a lot on the behavioral questions as well.
Mm.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And system design. System design is definitely a slow process, but it takes a lot of multiple readings, not just one reading, and
Mm.
not just a couple of pictures. It definitely won't help.
Mm.
Multiple readings, knowing the depth of it, and given a question, you could it's definitely is a never ending problem, right? So there is no a specific answer for any system design question. So the thinking that I got from the coding, where I used to frame my own I used to develop my own, add my own filters to the same coding problem. I started doing the same for the system design.
Mm.
What if they don't want you to use a load balancer, or what if they don't want to use Microsoft or whatever it is, right? So they don't want to use a queue. So how can you make sure that it's you are not losing any messages? So I used to apply my own filters on the system design, and then started developing my own answer. Just so that thing, and
Mm.
you do not need to know every problem for system design.
Mm.
Just pick only one problem, and
Mm.
if you can solve it in 10 different ways, you are very good to solve any system design problem,
Mm.
right? And I found there are a couple of variations in the system design, Rahul. I mean, types of questions in the sense, uh, so there is a streaming focused,
Mm.
right? So there is a streaming focused system design. For example, like online comments, like
Mm.
online video live comments is an example.
Mm.
So that type of system design, and also like number of likes, like counter is another variation. It
Mm.
could be a YouTube like counter, or number of views on a specific video or anything. So that's another another concept you
Mm.
have to learn. Yes, there are like at least 5 different flavors in a system design itself.
Mm.
So there are few problems that where you can go in a DFS way, like in a depth, or there are other problems where you can go in a width,
But
like
no, I think I get what you're saying. I totally understand where you're coming from.
yeah,
There are places where they want you to kind of design a large system,
yes,
whereas there are places where they want to go just deep into
specific,
one specific thing. And
yes,
there are some questions which are very algorithmic focused, where they're trying to
yes,
figure out,
algorithmic
hey,
focus.
figure out this algorithm for me, right? And there are some where
That's it.
they don't care about algorithm, just they're worried about scale. And
Yes,
some questions are kind of a mixed between. I get what
yeah,
you're
yeah,
saying.
yeah, yeah. The algorithmic specific is like top K, whatever
Exactly.
yeah, yeah. That
So
that that
what
questions.
what resources did you use for your system design prep?
I used LXVU, and DDIA. It helped me to. I mean, like, so DDIA is for look, very very few chapters in DDIA.
Hmm.
Like the streaming chapter is there, and with respect to this one, what is this? Transactions. There is one more chapter that helped me.
Hmm.
Transactions chapter.
So a few chapters from DDIA and then Alex Zhu, whose book is
LXVU book, yes.
that
But I
one.
did not even complete the whole LXVU book. But
Okay.
now they actually rolled out a second version of the volume 2 also. These two books are perfectly enough.
That's amazing, man. Thank you for this interview. And great. Happy that you joined Facebook or Meta.
Yeah.
And thanks a lot for this interview.